Today, let's discuss about URLs management in Zscaler ZIA. As you probably know, we have URL categories in Zscaler, and these URL categories are the standard ones, which do not contain custom URLs. But then you can create custom URL categories, which can contain a lot of URLs. What I usually see with customers is that they have a few really big custom categories for excluding SSL inspection, maybe blocking to be used to block with URL filtering, maybe one other with whitelisting, and then a lot of other categories with custom URLs used in many different places. But if you're a seasoned Zscaler administrator, you will probably also know that this is not the only place where you can put URLs inside your configuration. For instance, you can have URLs defined in the IP FQDN groups. So in the destination groups, you can have FQDN groups also with URLs defined inside here. Malware protection, security exceptions. So you can have URLs configured here as do not scan in malware protection, FTP control, and URLs where you allow to use FTP. Then you can have the advanced configuration where you can have URLs inserted as an authentication exceptions. Then to continue, you can have pack files and you can have a lot of URLs defined in the pack files. And then you can also go to the mobile portal, and in the mobile portal, sorry, this is not the mobile portal. Let me open the mobile portal. And then you can have a lot of URLs defined also directly, for instance, in the app profiles. Insert exclusions in the VPN gateways, and you can insert URLs also here. So a lot of places where we can have URLs configured in ZIA. But let's start with the easy part, which is the URL categories. What usually happens in most of the companies I have worked with, it's that these URL categories are not well maintained. You have people that keeps adding URLs to the categories, and most often with the SSL exclude, you have one partner after the other, one administrator after the other, that they keep adding URLs to the SSL exclude, and at the end you find yourself with a less than optimal configuration about the URLs. So what would you usually do? You are like in the SSL inspection, and you would know that these categories are configured for the exception. And then you would go and look at how many URLs are in the SSL exclude. So what you're seeing here, it's the interface that it's enhanced by ZHERO, but if you don't have ZHERO set up on your tenant, you would need to go to the URL categories, find the SSL exclude, open it here, all the URLs that are inserted in the custom URL and URL retaining parent category. Here to have them, it's not that easy. You could probably select them like this, copy, and paste them inside here, and then do some analysis on that. But making analysis on this, it's really complex. You would need to, let's say, take this URL, go back to the interface, go to the URL lookup tool, and look what these URL pertains to. So discover that it's a professional service, and so on. It's not really easy. This is why nobody ever does some cleanup and maintenance of the URLs. But there are jobs that you could do, like to see after a while if all the URLs in the SSL exclude they still matter, or maybe you are excluding things that you shouldn't because somebody excluded them in the past without knowing what he was doing. Other things, like in the block category, you have, in this case, just as an example, more than 2,000 URLs, but who knows when they were put there. Maybe these URLs that you're blocking are already blocked in other places. Maybe here I have some pornography or other kind of URLs defined that I'm already blocking with URL filtering policy, so no need to have them in two places. This will make my configuration much more harder to read. So how can I help you with this? After working a lot with these configurations and with Zscaler, also with the help of some really, really smart and great people inside Zscaler, I decided to make available some scripts that you can use to extract these URLs and make URL lookup automatically done with the APIs. Today, I'm going to show you a free and really useful tool to do some analysis on ZIA URLs. If you go on our website, ZHERO.ai, and you follow this link to GitHub, you will see this ZIA custom category analyzer, and you can clone or download this project to your computer. Here you can see the contents of the README file. But to begin with, special thanks to James Tucker from Zscaler, who shared with me the original version of the script. I then adapted it to use one APIs, the new APIs of ZIA, and to export also in the Excel format. Once you have downloaded or cloned the project, you will have all the files on your computer. Here, of course, you can still read the instructions from the README file. It will explain to you how to create a .env file with the variables that you need with the API credential to access your Zscaler tenant. And it will also explain to you how to set up the Python environment to be able to execute the script. And once you have done that, simply execute the script with Python and the name of the script, and it will connect to your ZIA tenant. And here you will have the list of your custom URL categories. Now you can choose which one do you want to export. In this case, I will choose the big category block, which is a category with more than 2000 URLs. So I will insert number 4, but you can insert more than one number, or actually also all, and it will export them all. And will ask me for the format that I want. I prefer Excel in this case. And as you see, it will start analyzing the category. Let's find 2565 URLs. And now, 100 at a time, he's using the APIs to do your lookup. Fair warning, the ZIA 1 APIs are limited, and you can use this your lookup API only 400 times per day. It's a lot, but if you think about it, it's 40,000 URLs. So if you use it a lot and you have a lot of URL categories, you may reach the end in a day. And here it is. As you can see, a new Excel file appeared in the folder. And here we also have some summaries of the analysis. So how many URLs were found, how many are categorized by Zscaler, how many are not, and also a summary of which categories are these URLs pertaining to. But let's take a look inside the Excel. Here it is. As you can see, we have an Excel sheet with all the URLs analyzed. We have highlighted in red the URLs that they are not categorized by Zscaler. And for all the other URLs, we have which URL category they pertain to. They may be some URLs that pertain to more than one URL category. In this case, you will have the list comma separated. Of course, you can filter this Excel. And if you want, for instance, to look at all the categories that pertains to, let's say, the ones that we were looking here, so music, for instance, my suggestion, it's not to select a category here, because in that case you will miss the ones that have multiple categories, but to use the filter contains. And in this case, I will enter music, and it will filter all the URLs that have the music category, and also those ones that have more than one category inside the custom categories. So why is this useful? One, because you have an insight that you wouldn't be able to have on the Zscaler interface. You can, yes, of course, do the URL lookup, but you can do it one URL at a time. And here we did the URL lookup for more than 2000 URLs almost instantly. And on the other side, you can do some cleanup. For instance, this category called big category block, in our tenant, it's used as a URL filtering for blocking access to these categories. And maybe it was populated by previous partners, previous administrators, or maybe it's coming from migration from previous technologies. And it has a lot of URLs inside it that maybe I can clean up. For instance, pornography. Look, I have 140 URLs pertaining to pornography that I'm blocking with this block category, but actually I have another rule in my tenant that is blocking pornography by itself. So I really don't need to have these URLs blocked twice. In my instance, in my case, for instance, we also have a URL filtering category which is blocking miscellaneous or unknown. And as I can see from the summary, because yes, there is also a summary here in the Excel. Let me make it a bit bigger. I have 1,282 URLs with miscellaneous, 140 with pornography. Okay, the others have a meaning, so it's okay that I want to block URLs pertaining to blog, news and media, finance, and whatever, because I'm not blocking those categories by default. But these two categories are blocked by default in my tenant. So this tells me that I can remove 1,400 and some URLs from this category, and nothing will change in my tenant configuration as a result. If not, that it will be much more ordered and it will be much more easier to manage the policies from now on. Next, let me show you what you can do with ZHERO. It's our browser extension that's made to enhance the Zscaler administrator experience with a lot of amazing features and knowledge of best practices. You can easily install ZHERO for free following this really easy documentation. It's made for Chromium, so it will work both on Edge and Chrome. And once you did the setup of ZHERO, you will find the plugin here in the browser extensions, and you will see after you have created an account, you will be able to see it working inside your ZIA tenant. ZHERO does a great many things, but my objective today is to show you how it can help on the URL management inside the Zscaler ZIA. On one side, it does some interface enhancement. So when you're browsing policies all around ZIA, you will see that the URL categories are shown in a different manner. You will see in how many other policies these URL categories are used, and also you will be able to see how many URLs are defined in each URL category. And these features are already available in the free version of ZHERO. Then, if you go and hover URL category, you will be able to have a look at some of the URLs that are contained in the URL category, and only in the premium version of ZHERO, you will be able to see also which are the policies that are using that URL category. But for now, let's talk with what you can do with the free version. And what's already available in the free version is this amazing feature of ZHERO about exporting URLs into an Excel file. First off, one of the things that you need to do is to configure your ZHERO settings to have access to the one API. There will be a separate page or video with instructions on how to do this. This is needed to be able to use the URL lookup function in the plugin. Next, it's really easy. You just need to click on your to XLS in this export button, and here you will be able to select which columns you want to export in this Excel report. Beware, in the free version of ZHERO, you will have already a lot of information about with this column, while if you have the premium version of ZHERO, you will have access to a lot of more information about the usage of URLs in all the other places inside ZIA, which are not relative to the URL categories. But let's have a look at this report. When you generate it, it may take some time because ZHERO will at this point retrieve all the information about the URLs inside all the configuration of Zscaler. Most of this information are already retrieved in the background by ZHERO. And if it's not already done, he will also do the URL lookup for all the URLs that you have in the configuration. So we probably may need to wait a few minutes for that. And here it is. Once the report is done, it will be automatically downloaded and you can open it. And this is the report that ZHERO will export for you about all the URLs in your configuration. The report is pretty straightforward. All the URLs of your configuration will be put here in a unique sheet you will find the URLs in the first column, and then you will find a few really useful columns afterward. One column will just let you know if this URL it's a wildcard. The sheet it's already set up with filters, so here you will be able to see all the wildcards that I have defined in my tenant. And the amazing thing is that this report will get all the URLs across all the URL categories, but also the ones that are not pertaining to URL categories, like the ones that are directly in firewall rules, advanced settings, upper files, back files, and so on. Then we will have other really useful columns that will give you an idea on how many policies this URL is impacted in. When you see the plus sign, it means that there are also some disabled policies. So like 11 policies or settings where this is directly impacted, plus some others, or maybe some advanced settings or similar. It will show you the number of custom categories where this URL is defined, or none. Like a 0, it means that this URL it's used somewhere in some settings, but it's not defined in custom categories. Then you will have a column with a comma separated list of all the custom categories where this URL is defined in. And then you will have a column, which is this one. It's really important because it's a result of URL lookup, a column with all the Zscaler standard categories where this URL it's included. Again, this is a comma separated list. So if you want, for instance, to look all the URLs that are related to the music category, do not filter them by selecting them, but my suggestion is to choose contains and then here put music. In this case, you will get all the URLs pertaining to the music category, no matter if they are in just that category or if they pertain to more than one category. Then, incredibly also useful because it lets you have some insight. It will let you know if URL it's also recognized in some cloud application and which cloud application class in Zscaler. So if we exclude the blank results, you can see that, for instance, in our tenant, we have a lot of URLs that are actually defined in cloud application. So this may let you reason, for instance, maybe not on the block, but on the SSL configuration or SSL exclude. Maybe you want to decide not to exclude the URL, but maybe to exclude directly the cloud app in the URL configuration. So this is an incredible optimization that you can already do. Another optimization that you can do like this, it's to maybe look up for the category that I know I'm using to block access via URL filtering, which is the big category block. And then maybe look if these URLs pertain to some other categories that I'm already blocking in another rule in my tenant, that for instance could be miscellaneous or unknown. So I'm making a filters for all the rows that contain miscellaneous or unknown, and maybe also one that contains, let's say, pornography, because I know that I'm blocking those. And in this case, as you can see, I have 1,422 URLs that I'm explicitly blocking in the big category block, a custom URL category, which are actually useless because I'm blocking them twice, because I have another policy in my tenant where I'm blocking pornography and miscellaneous are unknown. So I can, with this report, really clean up my configuration by removing all these URLs and also IP addresses that are already blocked in my other policy. So this is another really useful way to use this report. Another interesting thing that we have in this report, it's these other two columns, which shows me if the URLs that I'm analyzing have other related URLs inside the configuration. For instance, here we are speaking about example02.com, but here it shows me that somewhere else in my configuration, I have also wildcard example02.com as a more generic URLs. While in other cases, like this one with itunes.apple.com, which is a wildcard here, I have more specific URLs defined somewhere else in my configuration, that it's like, for instance, play.itunes.com.apple.com or bag.itunes.apple.com. So these other two columns will let me do some other optimization, or at least augment my knowledge, because this way I will be able to know how many specific URLs I have defined somewhere in my configuration that are already covered from other more generic URLs that I have defined in my configuration. And all the comments up to here are included in the free version of ZHERO. From here on, we have a lot of other comments that will show me if my URLs are included in something else in my Zscaler configuration. For instance, I can see which URLs are used directly in some firewall rule, or maybe which URLs are used in some pack files and which pack files, or maybe also incredibly useful if some URLs are used in some upper files, maybe as a VPN gateway, and so on. So this gives me a lot of insight of the usage of URLs in all my Zscaler configuration. So this report is incredibly useful. As I mentioned, you can have it for free if you set up ZHERO, and you can have a lot of more insights if you have the premium version of ZHERO. Also, let me give you an incredibly useful final tip. One of the things that you can do with this report, which is a feature that it's already included in ZHERO, so if you have the premium version of ZHERO, it will show you this without the need to extract this report and without the need to look for this needle in the haystack. But as a bonus, I will let you know this, that if you look for wildcard URLs in maybe those URL categories that you know that you are using as SSL exclusion, so SSL exclude in this case, or this SSL software pin, Apple pin, and so on. These are the categories that I'm using inside my tenant as SSL exceptions. And here I look for Zscaler category called CDN, which shows me those URLs that are CDN networks, content delivery networks, that I don't know if you know, but these are URLs where everybody paying just a few dollars can publish files, hence also malware. Here I can see that I have a really critical configuration on my tenant, which means that I have a wildcard CDN network in my SSL exclusion. This is really dangerous settings, a critical one, because this way I'm opening a really big hole in my security. So you will have this as a critical analysis that will be highlighted directly in your tenant by ZHERO as a smart analysis. But if you don't have the premium version of ZHERO, you will be able to do this analysis by yourself by exporting this really advanced URL export in Excel. And that's it about this amazing feature. Thank you for watching.